connected to everything, and that's why I'm in everything. All eyes on me, all eyes on everything. That means everything. Eyes connected to everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Eyes connected to everything.
I love it. I love it. This is John Skywalker from his Final Dimensions album. If you ain't got it, I suggest you go out and cop it right now on all streaming platforms. That is everything. And it's also on our disclaimer too. I swear every time we hear that, it just like puts us in the mood. Like we be vibing. I swear, we be vibing.
It's a bop, son.
It's a what? Is that what I'm doing?
It's a bop. You know, you bop your head. You just
Okay, it's a bop. Okay, is that what they say up in Seattle?
Yeah.
it's what they say in this here home right now.
You just came into the room.
Oh man.
Is that my brother?
Yep, there you go.
That is.
Oh, I'm sorry, I took him out. All right, well, without further ado, this is Things That People Don't Want to Talk About, brought to you by God Level. That will be me. I am originally from St. Louis, Missouri, the home of the original St. Paul. You can only get it right here. I am a mother. I am a sister. I'm a friend. I'm an aunt. I have this podcast. I'm an entrepreneur. I am everything good. John, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
John Skywalker, the Sly Talker here, lyricist, spoken word artist, martial artist, personal trainer, lover of life, student of psychology, and I am a father who has 5 hip-hop albums streaming on all major platforms. The name is John Skywalker. Go ahead and stream it up. You can also purchase the album. But I will settle for just streaming and just listening and saying, okay, I heard you. Yeah, you got some bars. Yeah, all right. You cool with the wordplay and the lyric. You all right. You cool. I'll take that too. John Skywalker, salute.
Love it. Dr. Saba Diamond. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm still calling this man the doctor. Saba Diamond, go ahead and represent yourself.
Oh, that's love. That's love. I am Sabah Diamond, spiritual science teacher, life coach, personal trainer, nutritionist. I am here of service, and I am just so grateful to share this earth with all of you at the same time, watching the same sun go through its cycles.
Absolutely. Hetepu. I don't even know what that means. You'll tell me later.
That's peace. That's abundant peace. Wishing abundant peace to everyone.
I'm over here speaking words I don't even know. Anyway, King Newmore, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
Peace. Welcome, everyone. It is an honor and a great privilege to be with this panel. As always, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Newborn Everything, and I am of service to the community.
You see how he been adding to it.
iHeartRadio.
Yes, iHeartRadio. Yes, iHeart. This is all on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube. We are on Spreaker. We are on Twitter. We are on Facebook, and even all of our personal pages. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you share the live. Oh, I'm sorry. That was a text message. Anyway, Ivy Tanner, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
What up, y'all? It's your girl, Ivy Tater, also known as Entertainment of Ivy on TikTok. The reason why all my 17 hamsters be cutting them up, and I talk about it, all right? I am a sister. I am a mother. I'm a retired military journalist. I am a future art therapist, and I am so honored to be here speaking with these wonderful people, just chatting it up and letting my hamsters just do what they do. And we gonna keep it rolling.
Let them run.
Oh, girl, they run wild.
I love it.
That's right.
All right. We have 2 special guests here today, Omar and Miss Nicole. Before we get to Miss Nicole, Omar, you want to go ahead and represent yourself? And before you do it, I want to say thank you for joining us last week and this week. He is a retired police officer from Washington, D.C. He has been giving us a lot of information on police training, education. Tonight we get to the meat and potatoes, but we're gonna keep it,
You gonna
peaceful.
keep it gully?
There you
Yeah,
go.
Yeah,
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
again,
let
thanks for having me back. Name's Omar. Originally from Jamaica, so in my, Ivy know it, Wagwan, right?
What
Yeah.
God?
Wagwan,
yes, Lord.
Wagwan. Yeah. So as Renee just said, former law enforcement officer from DC. My degree is in criminology, law and society, and concentration in intelligence analysis and homeland security. So yeah, I mean, I'm
Mm.
just here to rap with the folks and answer whatever questions they have, and lend my voice to the law enforcement aspect of a conversation.
Still being of service. Let's be.
That's what's
absolutely.
up.
Nicole, you
Hmm.
want to come on in and represent yourself?
Hello, 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 beautiful people. My name is Nicole Terry. I am also a sister, a mother. Um, I am a retired military soldier. Um, I'm gonna say a mother again because that's the big and main part of who I am. I am a mother. I That's my number one goal is to teach and love them on them girls the way we should teach and love on our children. So,
Let's
Right.
speech. Let's speech. So shit.
It's peace.
Amen.
If you are just now jumping in, tonight's podcast is Police Brutality Part 2. Last week we talked about it and we really did just focus on the training that the police officers get. Omar has literally ran it all down to us about the training. Not a lot of defensive training, not and as far as the psychological eval is concerned. Miss Nicole, her presence here is going to represent. She has a, can I say it, an open
yeah,
case against the police department where she lives. And where do you live again?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida. Before we get started, I want to. Oh my God, I didn't have a brain for it. My bad. Go ahead and take us down that night, that evening, that everything transpired with your daughters and the police officers.
Okay, April 29th, I received a social media direct phone call, which I normally don't answer. But she was persistent, so I ended up answering the phone, and the lady on the other end told me that my two oldest daughters, ages at that time 14 and 13, had been arrested at the Orange Park Mall, and that she had my younger daughter, which was 9, which was, of course, was with her older sisters. She told me that I need to come with caution because the police officers were pretty rude. And so I pretty much just asked her how long ago was this incident took place. She said, I've been trying to reach you for 2 hours. The police at this time had not contacted me to let me know that they had arrested my two minor children. Neither did they contact me to let me know that I may need to pick up my youngest daughter, whom was 9 years old, and she was left with a stranger. So I did make it to the mall where I spoke with one officer. Um, and as I was speaking with that officer, trying to get an understanding of what was going on, where my girls were, how long ago were they still at the location? Um, and I was interrupted by another officer, Officer Spalding. I never forget the name. He approached me and he said in this tone, "Those girls," as uh, assaulted a police officer. That's why they're going to jail.
Mm.
Um, at that time, at that time, I was taken aback a little bit because I wasn't up there. I wasn't, rude. I was really trying to find out what was going on. So I immediately told him to stop talking to me. I told him, listen, I said, I am a concerned parent. All I'm doing is trying to figure out what happened to my children, where they are, because I have not been contacted by anybody. He again proceeded to be rude. I asked for his badge. He walked off.
How old are your children, if you don't mind me asking? The ones that was arrested.
Um,
14, 13,
14
and
and
9.
13,
Okay.
and the 9-year-old was left. Yes. Um, they told me they will be transported to Clay County Police Station, where they will be booked and then transferred to Duval County's DDC, Detention Center for Minors. That was at 6 o'clock. Um, 7 o'clock rolled around, 8 o'clock rolled around. I hadn't heard from anybody. I started making phone calls around 6:30 just to see where they were. They were not in Clay County. They were not in Duval County, and they were not at the detention center they told me they would be. So 12 o'clock come around, I'm a little hysterical now. I haven't reached anybody, and no one can tell me anything. They have the report, but they can't tell me where my children were. No one. And at this time, that's 5 hours in. We're 5 hours in, and I don't know where my girls are. First thing coming in my mind, because the people around was like, "Yeah, they put them in a white a white van," and I'm tripping. Oh, my girls have been kidnapped. Uh, no telling what. I mean, everything bad. I'm not gonna lie, went through my head at this time. So a friend of mine, one of my sisters, she ended up calling me and started making phone calls herself. And at 1 o'clock, we found out where they were. They had finally reached the detention center. That's 1 a.m. That's 6 hours and some change at this time. They were at the detention center. They will be processed and then released to me once they are processed. So I did. 30 minutes later, they gave me a call back, and I went and picked them up at 1 o'clock that morning.
Okay.
Do you mind if we show the footage now? All right. So, audience, be advised. Some of these clips have some explicit language. All right. That's the first one.
That was someone being arrested.
Yes, that was one of the younger guys that was there with my daughters at the mall.
Now, this is the young man that's on the floor with a broken arm.
My daughters are there.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, his arm is bro.
And screaming.
Fucking bro.
Everybody needs to back up.
His arm is bro. Bro.
If you don't back up, you will be told to leave too.
Bro, his arm is fucking bro.
Okay.
All right. And then here's the last clip.
Suffer. Bro. Bro, his arm is bro.
That's the version just to show my girls' interaction with the police officers. They were arrested for assaulting police officers. One of the only female police officer stated that my daughter went to interfere with the arrest that was made, or the gentleman on the ground. She went to walk towards the officers to interfere, and the female police officer stepped in, and my daughter pushed him with two hands and shoved her in the chest. In the video, you can see that the officer actually walked over to my daughter. She has anxiety, so she kept saying, "Mom, I couldn't move." She was stuck in place screaming because all she could think about was she was about to watch her friend die, because they had him initially. the guy's knee was in the back of his neck, and so they were scared. So he moved his knee, but he put his elbow in the same place where he had his knee at. So he was pinning them down by the back of his neck. So she said she started screaming. When she started screaming, "Get off of him!" That's when the police officer walked over to her and told her to move and grabbed her by the arm and turned her around because she wasn't moving fast enough. Um, yeah.
Okay.
Um, so the
How
police
did?
statement
Go ahead.
is inaccurate. As you could see in the video, my daughter never moved. You couldn't hardly see her in the film. The police officer walked over to her. She never moved to interfere with the police officer. So that was a complete lie.
Okay. How did this incident start?
Well, they do it every other weekend. I do allow my girls, they'll go to the mall, and hang out with their friends. I dropped my girls and, three of their friends off at the mall, and they end up, linking up with, three other friends.
Okay.
Well, they were in the mall, and, I guess the crowd was too big, too many in a huddle, so they told them they had to leave. No reason for them to leave, but they told them they had to leave.
Okay.
At that time, the guy that is on the ground, the little boy that's on the ground, he said he didn't do anything and he didn't understand why he had to leave, so he kind of broke away from the crowd. And when he broke away from the crowd, the police officer dropped him. So that's how the whole incident started. The lady who actually contacted me and had my baby girl, she told me she seen the whole incident from start to finish. She said the kids were laughing. They was just all laughing, joking around. They wasn't bothering anybody. They weren't stealing. They wasn't, they were just laughing. Somebody said something that was funny and they all bust out laughing. She said, so they were not doing anything. The officer asked him to leave, and the boy said he wasn't going, and he turned and broke off, and that's when all hell broke loose.
That's when all hell broke loose. Okay. When we were doing our powwow Friday, you said that your girls had to be rearrested again.
I did.
Tell us about that.
So because of their charge, they're on house arrest until they decide they want to take them off. Look like. So they have a PO. So the PO came to the house 2 days in a row to check and make sure that the girls were home. And at that time, I'm asking for a court date because when do they have to go to court? Both times she forgot the paperwork that gave that information, and she told me to contact her the next day. Well, the next day was their court date, and of course we missed it. So because we missed the court date, they had to be rearrested in order to get a new court date. I decided that I was going to go ahead and turn them in. I was going to drive to the police station and turn them in. I was told that I could not do that, that I had to contact the Duval County police station, let them know that they have to come and pick up my daughters, and then they would transport them to Clay County where the incident took place. The police officers did come. They did not want to do it. They had never heard of such thing. They had, the whole time they've been in the police force, they have never went on a call to where they had to pick up minors. So they tried to do everything they could not to take my girls to jail. They did not want to put the handcuffs on them, but they had to do their job. They tried everything they could to, prevent what they had to do, but they told them they had to bring them in. So they handcuffed my daughters at our home and put them in the back of the police officer. They were again transported to Duval County where they had to be processed. From Duval County, they were sent off to Clay County to be processed. And then again to Duval County's detention center to be processed. And once they're processed there, they will release them to me.
So
Um,
The second time that they got picked up, what happened when they missed the court date? That's considered contempt of court, right? So the judge is sitting there, names are called, they didn't show up. So that's contempt of court. And usually, once juveniles get arrested, they have to go to court the next day to go basically face the judge. They don't do it the same day. Warrants for juveniles aren't called like warrants for adults are a warrant. So what the judge would issue right there for an adult if he didn't show up to court would be a bench warrant. So the judge is right there at the bench, and the judge put the warrant together for a police officer to go pick up the suspect. When it's kids, it's called a custody order. When they're juveniles, it's called a custody order. So the judge is going to issue a custody order for the juveniles, and then the cops had to go pick him up. Unfortunately, those cops probably weren't experienced in dealing with juvenile matters, but it is customary for the judge to issue a custody order for the juveniles to be picked up. And once it's issued, the cops have to go out and carry out the judge order. So the same thing as a warrant, but for an adult, it's called a warrant. For a juvenile, it's considered a custody order. I'm not sure if it's called the same thing in Florida, but I'm sure they have some form of equivalent to that. So it's not
Okay.
rare, or it's not something that's like new to your situation.
Okay. But even with the adult, when you have a warrant and you are aware you can turn yourself in, I don't understand the reason why they had to be
Well,
handcuffed again and not the same me turning them in, and
well,
so they wouldn't have to go
the
through
premise
that.
the premise in your situation is that you were already arrested. They were already processed, and a court date was issued for them to show up to court, and you basically disrespected the court by not showing up on the date that the judge said you were supposed to show up. So they're not going to um like give you the opportunity to come turn yourself in to the police at that time because you had an opportunity
Mm.
to come to court. That's the way the system's going to look at it. They're not going to look at it from
Mm.
the perspective of you know um she's a good mother. These are no. It's just going to be straightforward. The system, the judge ordered a custody order for it. The judges and just think about it from a judge perspective. They're sitting there and they're thinking, okay, they got arrested last night. They should have been in court today. Why aren't they in court? And then the judge is going to say, and the charge of assaulting a police officer is not, you know what I mean, like frowned up on. So the fact that you basically, from a judge perspective, disrespected the authority of the police officers. I'm not saying they did. I'm just saying this is what the
Yeah.
judges, this is the way the system is looking at it. And then you had they had a court date to show up to court, and you didn't show up. So ignorance of the law is kind of like not an excuse. So the judge is not going to say they didn't know they were supposed to show up. They're just going to go ahead and do what the process is. And the next step in that process is either a bench warrant for an adult or a custody order for a kid.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
To go a little bit further and break down some of his stuff from what I saw from the video. So I always say I don't like to Monday morning quarterback other officers because I was a working officer myself, right? Like I wasn't, you have officers that did their jobs and you have officers that kind of stand to the side and just didn't do what they were supposed to do. I was one of those guys that try to go out there and do what I was supposed to do. So if I get called in the mall for a disorderly, I'm not sure. I'm just gonna assume if they were in front of a specific location, maybe their favorite store or whatever, or the food area, whatever it is. They're in a certain area. It's maybe two or more is considered a crowd as far as the law is concerned. You know what I mean? Like three and upwards, you're talking about a gathering at that point from the perspective of the law. So you had a little small group. I'm not sure, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, and they're laughing. They're being a little bit loud. Whoever it is that owns a store or owns the mall probably does not want a certain amount of people congregating in front of a certain establishment because it's just not a good look. And then if like people are actually going to patronize that store and they have to go through like a certain group to go in there with, and I'm not going to say that they were, but I'm just going to assume a little bit of raucousness going on. It kind of pushed people to the next store opposed to my store. So the owners of the store or the owners of the mall would call police officers that are either doing overtime or stand by in the mall and say, we have a small group. Could you guys go ahead and move them on for us? If the cops approach them at that time and ask them to move on, then the realistic thing to do at that time as a form of putting on my police hat would be just to move on. I'm not sure if the tack that the officers used did not solicit compliance, because they probably went up to them in a way that wasn't like, that was kind of like disrespectful, and they, like pushback kind of gets pushed
Like
back,
how
like,
he came up to me.
yeah, yeah. So if
Yeah.
if they go up and they
So
weren't really like respectful of the kids or the juveniles and say, hey guys, store owners are complaining that you guys are being a little bit too loud. I'm just gonna ask you. I'm not. You don't have to go, but just kind of disperse, break it up a little bit, and then make the group a little bit smaller and go on about whatever you got to do. I'm not sure if that's the tack that he took, or he went up and just be like, you guys got to go, and the kids started pushing back, and then it turned into a situation where they had to go hands on. So
mm,
just assumption from what I saw. Now, from the perspective of the kid that was on the ground that was being arrested, from what I saw, the officer's tactic was sound. It was just one or two officers that was trying to get him what we call in handcuffs or subdued. Um,
Mm.
and once maybe they get him in handcuffs. If it was, I didn't see a knee in the chest or in the
yeah,
neck. I saw
that's
a
the
knee in the
video
back.
that I was. Yes, that's the video that I did have, but it was on the story, and I didn't know to record it on my phone. And once it
Mm.
deleted off the story, I no longer had it. I just had a picture. But those videos will be sent to the. Well, we are right now going to secure the video from the mall, so it will show the
Okay.
whole
Cool. Yeah.
incident.
I mean, I would like to see those, but based on what I saw, I didn't see him doing anything that was outside of what it would take for me to get a person in custody, or get him in handcuffs. So what I
Mhm.
saw from his actions were right. Now, from your so you said the young lady that was shouting that um I forgot what she was shouting. She was shouting something about either having his foot in his neck or in his back, or something to that effect.
She was saying
Yeah,
he had a broken arm. His arm is broken. That's
Oh
what she
Okay.
was
wow.
shouting.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
the arm that he has between his legs, and if you could pay attention to his movement in the video, his
Hmm.
movement is he's trying to place that arm in an uncomfortable position as well. The boy is not resisting. He's not resisting. He's laying there. So the extra I felt like um, was uncalled for.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I based on what I saw, I didn't see anything that was out of character with me trying to get a subject into handcuffs. Thousands of times I had to do it, and I probably would have done it the same way
Mm.
that he did it. I don't know if his arm was. I didn't see him resisting. Let me put it that way. I didn't see the kid resisting, and I didn't see him twisting his arm in a way that I would say he's trying to gain pain compliance. Because
Right.
sometimes when you have someone who is actively resisting, one of the levels that you go up on the use of force continuum is to actually use pain compliance, where you would do joint manipulations and stuff like that, just to get that person to comply, stop resisting, get their hands in handcuffs. And like I said last week, once we get them in handcuffs, then force usually ends, and we usually put them in a recovery situation. Now, if the kid's arm was broken, then what we would do, anytime someone asks for, um, makes any allegations of needing medical attention, that's something that we have to. It's a must. Like, that must be presented. So the
Mm.
next thing we would do is call up the board. We say the board, but the ambulance to the scene, and get them medical attention, especially a juvenile. So that would be something that would be, if his arm was broken, that would be a part of the arrest report, and it would have to be. That would be probably looked at as excessive force, depending on what they were trying to do. So the claims that are being made there can be, what I mean, like, it can be figured out real easy.
So just for just a second, just to interject. So the incident. So you said that this incident happened in April. Was it April of this
Yes.
year? Okay,
Yes.
Yeah.
so moving forward, like what can she do legally now? Like what are her recourses for her girls now, especially them being minors? Like what is something that's federal that she can um what is something what are some federal laws that can help her and her girls in this case? Like what, like when she finally does get together to scratch to go see a lawyer, like what can she bring to them? Like how can it help the girl's case? Like what can help her case, her and her girl's case? What are the solutions from here?
So there's not. I don't know that there's going to be any particular solution or course of action for her to take besides filed the citizen complaint that she filed with the police department, and then there's going to be, let's just say there was force used in the guy that was being subdued. Then there's going to be a use of force investigation. That's going to be done by usually IA, right? They're going to investigate, and that's internal affairs. They'll investigate all use of forces with the department, and if they find that the officer acted outside of the let's just say he used excessive force in that situation by breaking the kid's harm, right? I'm just going to go off what I heard here, the facts that are being presented here. Then she can use that as a part of the complaint because her girls were not being arrested at that point, right? It was only the kid that was being arrested. When cops are actively conducting police business, you cannot have civilians just walking over and interfering or impeding that process or that investigation, right? You see it all the time on social media. You see people do it all the time. You have no right to do that. There are every jurisdiction that I know have as a law that's either impeding or interfering with police investigation, right? And anyone that actually does that, that is an actual charge, right? So
Mm,
if you do that, that is a charge. And if the cops are telling you to get back, usually you want to just get back and stay at a safe distance and then say whatever you want to say, play the videotape if you, yeah, I mean, record if you want to record. But the moment you start going, for instance, let me put this up for you. Like what we do a lot, because um working as a cop in DC, we worked in a lot of communities that had a lot of anti-police sentiment. So the moment we start doing anything, there's always a big crowd gathering, stuff like that. What we do instantly is we just put up crime scene tape. And once we put up that crime scene tape, that sets a barrier around what we're doing that people know that they have to respect. And if you break down that crime scene tape and come inside where we're operating, no, you've just crossed the police barricade, right? Or you just crossed the police line, and that's also a charge. So you have to kind of like imagine that there is a certain amount of crime scene tape around that area that the cops are actually trying to operate to keep themselves safe. So if someone keeps intruding in that space, then they're going to push back at some point, and that usually means they're going to arrest you. As far as federal law, there is no real federal. I mean, she's going to file a civil. I mean, you can't file a civil rights complaint because no civil right was violated in that situation, right? But if the kid that the force was used against, they use excessive force against that kid, then you can use that as a claim as to why your daughters got irate because they were witnessing police misconduct, and so they got irate. And then you can take it to a civil court and try to get some form of civil lawsuit. And you got to remember, in criminal cases, it's proof beyond reasonable doubt. In civil cases, it's just preponderance of the evidence. So you look at, someone's just going to look at the evidence that is in front of them. You don't have to prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt. If the judge or the jury looks at it and think that the cops were in violation of her or his civil right, then they rule in your favor.
Okay. Well, in this, those are two separate cases. Of course, all of the girl, there were five children arrested. The two gentlemen, the one they were walking with his arms up, he wasn't resisting arrest either. So that was excessive the way they were carrying him away. He's 14, so I don't see him doing too much harm to those bigger police officers. But as far as my girls, they were as I said, they were charged with assaulting a police officer, battery on a police officer. But my girls never touched the police officers.
mm,
Okay. Yeah, I heard you.
And per the police report, they stated that she walked towards the police officers, and was uh, the police officer approached her, and at that time she shoved the police officer. Like I said, the video already showed one. She never walked up to the police officer. The police officer walked up to her. And as I was saying, where the boy was dropped, he was dropped in the crowd of children. He was dropped right there in the crowd. So initially, the shock of what is happening got to set in, that the fact, okay, the police just dropped him. You got to give them time to move. As I stated, one of my daughters was away, but the other one, I told you, the oldest one, she has anxiety, so she was kind of stuck trying to process what was going on. So she was kind of stuck, but she never moved towards the police officers, and she never shoved the police officer, as the police report stated.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if that happens, then that's a false arrest, right? They've made a false claim. So if you have videos, if there are videos in the mall, I'm sure there are, or if the cops were in body worn camera, then that will come out.
No,
And
that was the first thing they said.
they said
That's
there
what made
weren't.
me. Yes, that was the first thing I didn't even say anything about the cam, but that was the first thing the officer told me. And we don't wear police cam, because I said I had video. So I was a little taken aback, because me telling you have a video, I have a video, and you still was bold enough to write this false report.
Yeah, I
It
don't.
makes me wonder, like, this happens often, and they don't, there's not a fear of them getting caught with doing this, because they knew I had a video. So for them to could still write that report knowing that, that's a little bold for me.
What is the video that you have? Is it a video of the beginning of the interaction to the very end of the
Yes,
interaction?
actually, it's in the video that you show. You'll see the police officer walking past into where my daughter was standing. She then grabbed her and turned her around. My daughter had a phone in one hand, and her other hand was like this. So how both palms touched her, I don't know. If she had a phone in one hand, she couldn't have pushed you, as you stated, and
Yeah.
with as much force as you stated.
So
For as big as that woman was, there's no way she made you stumble. Nothing. She is
so
little.
You're
so
gonna need
Terry,
the whole video. I'm so sorry. You're definitely gonna need the whole video from whatever stores was around that was recording that incident from beginning to end. And you're gonna
Hmm.
need that video to be able to say, okay, this is what truly happened.
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
Yeah.
and I want to caution you, like right now, because of the fact that this is an open case, I actually want to stick a pin into going into all of the details,
Yeah.
just to
Hmm.
cover you and to
Right.
cover anybody
Right.
who might be listening to all of this.
Right.
Just
Right.
thinking about it, because your purpose was to come on and to basically say that that you needed help with legal representation
Right.
for
Mhm.
everything. So I just want to stick it out. I want to, Harpo, you're my girl. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm sorry.
I
Yeah.
wanted to so I
It
just
took
wanted
you
to,
long
I'm
enough
like
to
listening
realize
to
who
it.
I was.
Girl, I knew who you was the whole entire time. By the way, anybody who's listening, me and her, we was in Kuwait together. That's my dog. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to stick a pin in that for you. And I
Mhm.
think
Right.
that Omar has been able to give some really good commentary about
Oh
this, because
yeah.
you were basically coming on to, speak about your case and everything. But I would like to stick a pin in you speaking about the details just
Okay.
until everything airs
Of
out,
course.
just to cover
Of
you,
course.
just legally.
Of
Okay.
course.
Just just putting that out there.
Okay. I
Yeah,
got you. I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just
absolutely.
wanted
Absolutely.
the first thing, that mall has a lot there's a lot of cases at that mall with black children. They have stated that they don't want us out there. So it's me really want to bring awareness to what is going on there, because there has been a lot of incidents that's happened there that I wasn't aware of until after this one with my daughters. So people just start coming in, was like, no, this happened there, this happened there. I was actually there. It was two adults that were there that they were doing a they was trying to find me on social media to give me the videos and their perspective of what happened because they seen a lot of the situation. So it's a lot of people that is trying to make this known that this is a problem there and
Okay.
somebody has to do something.
So
Okay.
is it a problem with the police addressing the
Yeah.
juveniles, or is it a problem
Yeah.
with juveniles acting, you know what I mean, like crazy at the mall?
I mean, it's whatever they report, right? My daughters assaulted the police officers and they never touched the police officers. So what narrative? If they say that it happened, did it happen? So that's what they're putting out. And that was the justification of their actions on why they did the things they did because these teens did this. When it's making me feel like maybe it's not that. If I'm going through this with my girls right now,
So
maybe it's
what's
not
your
that.
what is your what's your personal conversation, if you don't mind me asking, with your daughters after this incident, as far as like them going back to the mall and police interaction?
Well, police interaction because I don't want them back at that mall. I did let them know as far as the closeness of their persons to the police officers and the guy. I told them that they were too close first. That's why my daughter told me she couldn't move. But I told her anytime that a police officer uh, says anything to you, just comply. You might not like it. You can record while you're complying because now you take all the fault from you if anything does happen, and you could put it back on them if you're doing what you were told to do. Um, um, and they understood it. They don't know. See, my girls was raised a little differently. They didn't have to go through. They didn't go through a lot of this stuff overseas in Kuwait, so they're really like I am starting anew on things that they have to do when it comes to interaction with police officers because this is new for them. Is very new. So they didn't have to deal with it. The most they had to deal with is random people coming up and kissing them on the cheek. So this kind of stuff is they was like, well, mom, we didn't do anything. They just kept saying, but we were just walking. Like why did we have to leave if we wasn't even doing anything? And that's what I told them, just comply, and then we'll go from there. But until
Yeah, juvenile disorderlies is like it's a very, very common call. Like it's very common, you
Mm.
know, and I mean, especially I we don't have any malls in the southeast part of town where I worked, in DC where I worked. Most of the malls are in northwest, but we got a lot of juvenile complaints from you know, I can't even go into those, but I'm not going to assume that your daughter are some of those, you know, like juveniles that I encountered. But sometimes you just guilt by association. The crowd that you happen to be with at that time may be running
yeah,
amok, and then you just
hmm
become a
hmm
part of that, and they kind of just get like swooped up in that whirlwind of whatever is taking place at that time. So sometimes, you know, you just gotta, when you see a situation getting out of control, we've all have to do that from time to time, where we just like, you know what, this is going too far.
just
Let me
move
back
around.
out. Let me take myself away
Right,
from here because I can see where this is going. At 13,
right,
14, those lines aren't always apparent. You know what I mean? Like you don't
right,
always see that this is going to turn where this, with the direction that this is going to go. Um, like an adult would be able to see it, make that decision real quick, and back out and say, you
right.
know, I'm not going to step across that line. I'm just going to, you know, stay in my lane a little bit. Not putting the blames on your kids. I don't really know what really took place, but I'm just going off my personal experience, previous experience with dealing with juveniles and stuff like that, and stuff that can go array real quick. And you know, if you're a juvenile there, you know, just a young mind, you can get, you know, swooped up in that, like I think your daughters probably did at this point.
Well, I can't say if I shall toot my own horn. I think me and their father did a pretty good job. They are AP students in school. They run track and play basketball. They are very respectful. I get so many compliments at like the different stores that we frequent when they realize that those are my girls they tell me how respectful they are. So I know that what I feel, because you never know. You don't know what they do. But when they're away from me, they know that they are a reflection of me. And they know mama cut up if you make me look bad out here in these streets. so so they know if it gets back to me, all those privileges will be cut. And they have been doing it for a while without any problems. I'm very proud of my girls. They really are doing their thing right now.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story. I'm glad that Omar was here and was able to give you a lot of insight on what you can do and what the routes that you can take. It sounds like to me that you're definitely going to need that whole video.
Yes.
You need the video from
Yes.
start to finish before the incident. Right before the incident, you need that energy. Before the incident actually started, and what happened throughout and towards the end and the end. So yeah, you're
And if
definitely
they
going to
could
need
get
the whole
the
video.
the report from the young man that was being subdued on the ground, if he has any medical, treatment associated with the force that was used, that's something that could help
Yeah.
in your case, because then that shows that like police misconduct led to police misconduct, and it just kind of leads
Mhm.
towards looking better for your case, right? Because what you're
Yes.
bringing, I guess, is a false
Right.
arrest case
Mhm.
with the police department.
Right.
Have you all reached out to local city government?
Yes, I actually I've spoke with a gentleman at the NAACP here in Jacksonville. We have to let it run its course. So they advised me to think about how I want to do it. They gave my daughters a plea deal. They accept the charge. They do counseling for however many amount of time that they give them, and then afterwards they will drop the charges, but it will stay until they're 18, with that they can be expunged. But
Oh,
at
it'll
that
still be
time,
closed.
right, it's still going to
Yeah.
be um, it'll still be on record until then, which I don't want, because anything can happen, and I don't want them to run their name for whatever reason they have to, and that's something that they see on their record. At that time, I don't think they're going to get a fair shake with any situation that they may be in with that on their record. So
Typically,
that's why.
juvenile records are sealed, like
Yeah.
stuff like misdemeanors, like that. That's a misdemeanor charge. It's not a felony charge.
No, they
Yeah.
have felony charges.
They
Both of my daughters
it's a
have
fe- they put
both of my daughters have
felony
felony. Yes, both of my daughters
felony
have felony charges.
assault on a police officer. Okay,
Yes.
well,
But
that's a big
even
difference.
so, if you're a minor, your records will still be sealed. Like it will not come out. It wouldn't come up after 18
It
at
doesn't
all.
follow you after 18.
Well, I can't
Yeah.
say that because the
Um,
reason why I didn't take it, because my niece, she just went through. She's a teacher, and she had an incident where my older sister, she wasn't doing well. She was going through a mental break, and they had a situation, and she was arrested for fighting her mother. She went to DDC for this. She took the same plea deal that they offered my girls. Um, and she hadn't had a problem until this year. Her first year of teaching. She was there maybe 6 months, and this record came up. She had to go and get paperwork and file and send to the school board in order for her to keep her job. So I can't say that they're sealed. For hers should have been sealed, but they got it, and she had to answer about it more than 10 years later. So
I understand.
I'm
Okay.
Caution.
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
You
Just
don't
being
want
cautious.
it to follow them. I get it.
yeah.
that is
Yeah.
definitely, I
You do
feel,
not want
don't
them.
want the
Okay, so
follow.
I get that. You don't want it to
Okay.
follow them. Yeah.
I've heard that
So you
happening to
still had.
a few people. In fact,
Yeah.
few
Okay.
people.
When you take that,
Hmm.
yeah, you don't want that to
Mhm.
follow them. I get it.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So
And
you.
they're
So
good
you
girls,
basically
so I don't.
you put your Cash App up. So for I
Yes,
don't know
I
if you
did.
guys had it.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
It was showing a good for a good time. But I want
Yeah.
us to go ahead
Okay.
and keep the conversation going, and let's segue into this body cams. Are they helpful, detrimental? And I'm putting this up as I'm listening. I'm like, you know what? This seems like it would have been beneficial in a situation like this,
Yeah.
It
right?
would have.
Right.
It would have.
But I'm saying both helpful and detrimental. So some people will be like, well, there's no way, absolutely possible, why body cams will be detrimental. But the first thing that comes to my mind is privacy concerns, right? So mental health, right?
Mm,
Um, those body cams are going to capture you in very vulnerable moments, especially if it's at a private residence. Let's just
mm.
say it's a domestic violence dispute, right? Um, you may have concerns about that information getting out and about, seeing you in that very vulnerable state. So that's what I'm saying. We can explore if it's
We'll
helpful,
explore.
Yeah.
right?
I
We'll
would definitely say
explore.
that doesn't outweigh the
We will
Mm.
explore.
What it proves.
keeping
Right,
policing accountable and making sure everything is so everybody can stand as a witness. I think
right.
that should take priority over people's you know um vulnerable moments, because this is one of those things when you don't anything can happen, and it's going to be your word against theirs. You know how many years, how many decades police have gotten away with false reports because there was no video.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
for me,
Exactly.
yeah, I think that outweighs. I wouldn't, people should not they should really think about, whether that's more important than holding these police accountable in those moments.
And you
So
can easily turn those things off.
Yeah, they can turn it
I've
off, as well as
seen
mhm.
even
it.
in those vulnerable moments that will not be on display unless something is challenged where it had to be. And more than
Mhm.
time, if it's challenged, then it's because someone is saying something didn't happen as it is being stated. So that is always helpful in that case for both of them. I mean, for the police officers as well
Yeah,
as.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's facts. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
want to put that out there. And I mean, Omar, since did you actually Baltimore, South DC? Were you guys did you guys like always have to wear body cams, or is that something that you guys got later on, or before, like before you left the force?
I would say about midway. I did
Hmm.
8 years, and about midway through my career, I started out. I have to wear body worn cameras. And to go ahead and answer the question, or is it so from a police officer perspective? Like I think I told you guys last week, there's a lot of stuff that I used to do that I didn't do anymore once I started wearing body worn cameras. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
before, when I was out in the street, and you know, the street pharmacists or the stick up boys, they try to roast us, we would roast back. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
we would just tit for tat, and then we just kind of walk away, and they know who I am, and I know who they are, and we just kind of went about our separate business. I didn't have anything to like press them out for at that moment, so I just kept it rolling. Stuff like that, I didn't do any of that. It does go a very far way in holding us accountable and showing transparency. There's a lot of, it kind of gets you in the hack right. I'm not gonna say that there isn't. It didn't change the way I police. It did change the way I police when I started to wear a body worn camera. Like I got counseling for stuff that happened in a body worn camera. Um, I got
Mm.
suspension days for not turning on my body worn camera.
Mhm.
um
Mm.
I was, personal anecdote, I was just simply doing an accident with a metro bus and a civilian vehicle, and I set up my police car to block the road off, and I'm standing there talking, and all of a sudden I see this car just speeding coming towards me, pull my weapon out, pointed at the driver, and it's like, whoa, whoa, and I said, back the F up. um and
Mm.
I got in trouble for saying F. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So
Mhm.
it was just a counseling, like a 62 he conduct and becoming type thing. Like you need to watch your language, da 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 da. But I had to whenever in DC, whenever I point my weapon at someone, we had to do a report that we call a let me get this right. Let me make sure you first for use of force RIF, report a force incident. So because I point my weapon at the driver, I had to report it to a sergeant that I pointed my weapon at the office at the driver, and while he was watching my body worn camera, he heard me say, back the F up. And he had to
Oh.
counsel me for using the F word. So that kind of goes to show that You know what I mean? Like body worn camera does change the way you actually police. So from there on end, you know what I mean? It was like you know, you can use F in certain cases and get away with it because it's considered tactical language, because at that time you kind of needed to, that person needed to hear that to give you compliance. But I've never really heard the department rule in that way. It was always like, you know, you got to watch, you always got to be tactful. As far as detrimental to the public, how do I see from a law enforcement perspective that body worn cameras have become detrimental to the public? When I pull you over for a simple traffic violation, and I would normally just kind of give you a verbal warning and send you on, because it's on body worn camera now. Um, I'm more inclined to have to give you a ticket, because it's going to be like, why did you pull her over if you didn't have enough reason to pull her over? When how does it when I pull you over for a DUI before,
Mm.
when I would just go to court and I have to verbalize your actions to the court. When I have a body worn camera on, the judge sees you stumbling out of your vehicle. They hear you slurring with your speech. They see me giving you the walk and turn, and they see that your foot was, you know, a miles apart while you're supposed to be touching toes to toes. They see that you only completed, you know, 6 steps when I told you to complete nine, and turn around and you're turning. You know what I mean? They see everything. So you can no
Mm,
longer go and say, I wasn't drunk, Your Honor. You know, he's making all this stuff up.
Right.
That doesn't work anymore. And I can go on about different areas of law enforcement where me having a body worn camera makes it harder for you to defend yourself,
Mm.
as a citizen. But for the most
mm.
part, you know, those are good examples.
Okay, that's
Yes.
legit.
Yes. Indeed.
That's
Uh-huh.
legitimate.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that it's funny just doing communications for the lion's share of my life. It's funny. I used to have a teacher who used to talk about how communication was human communication was started with like with our body, grunts, the spoken word, da 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 da. Then it transgressed on into the written word, and then the last part of it, that the last thing that moved communication was the actual photograph, because they say a picture can say 1,000 words, and video is like it's the same thing for me because it gives you the plain truth. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like you can infer from that, but what it is just what it is. You might not be able to see emotions or thoughts, or sometimes you can see emotions and thoughts and feelings. But the thing is that you just have such a blank slate with a camera. So I kind of feel that I feel just like Brother Diamin said. I think that is it gives you it gives you the plain honest truth. It's I rather have that than have to worry about my privacy or
Yeah.
anything else, because at least you
Right.
have something that's right there. It's that last bastion of communication, you know what I'm saying?
And
So yeah.
to touch on something that I don't remember who exactly said you can turn it off.
I
You
did.
Yeah, so you can't. Well, right now I know you can't turn them on. You can't turn them off. The new ones that are coming out, they can't be turned off.
Okay.
Really?
That's
The
good.
older
Yes.
ones,
Mm.
Right.
and like the new ones that are coming out, as soon as you fire your weapon. So let me back up a little bit.
Okay.
Um, the the older ones, the way they worked were, I have it on. I have it on, but in order for it to start recording, I had to tap my chest. There's a round mark in the chest, a round area in the chest. I had to tap that twice for my body worn camera to start recording. Once it starts
Mm.
recording, it shows you what was happening in your surrounding 2 minutes prior to you
Oh.
actually hitting that recording. So what will show up is you will start seeing whatever was in my presence from 2 minutes ago, but you won't have the sound of what was happening. So the sound starts the moment I tap it and activate my body worn camera, and it actually starts recording. But you would be seeing what was happening. So if I just went to the restroom like a minute ago before I tapped my body worn camera, you would see me in the restroom. like
Okay.
like
Yeah.
but they usually
Mm.
give us discretion to be able to turn off your camera when you go into the restroom, um, before you know what I mean, so you're not showing your private business when you're in the
That's
restroom.
legit.
So now
Okay.
I
Right.
hear, and I don't know this for sure because this is very new, and I heard it. I'm just hearing it from my colleagues in law enforcement currently that now you can't turn them off, and um, whenever a taser is activated in the presence of a body worn camera, the body worn camera automatically starts um, recording now, so I don't have to
Oh.
tap it. And whenever a weapon is discharged, so if I fire, if I'm wearing my body worn camera and I have to shoot someone, as soon as I fire that gunshot, the body worn camera starts activated on its own without me having to touch it to do
Oh
anything. So
wow.
Mm.
those are some new features that I hear about the new body worn cameras that I didn't experience, but I had the whole one where once I tap it, you could see what was being recorded 2 minutes before I tapped it, but you couldn't hear
Wow.
what was going on. So you can't
Mm.
really if you turn it off, then that's like that's in most department that is a policy violation within the department. Like you have to have it powered on and then you tap it twice for it to be activated or start
Okay.
recording.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Mm.
That make
But
it
I'm gonna
hard.
get.
in her case, yeah, body worn camera would have definitely been helpful.
They're
It would have
making
shed light
progress.
and
We are
everything.
making progress. That's good.
Yeah. But
Mm,
look,
Hmm.
but you said those are new that just so those are new cameras that just came out.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I left in
Body worn
2021,
cameras.
so it's
Okay.
between it's they're within like 2 years, 2 years new.
Okay, and I'm just going to guess, just from putting this out there, that you have to be like if a police force was going to get that, like that's not a federal thing. That's just like per county or per state. So basically, you need to be a police department with money in order to purchase these. And if
Yeah,
people don't
resource
really,
allocation. Gotta have the
yeah, like
resources.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
yeah. So if they're
the biggest money comes from storing the data storage.
Wow.
Just
Mm.
Mm.
think about
Wow.
thousands of officers or hundred of
Right.
officers recording
oh my gosh,
24 hours
Mm,
a day, all the time. Where is
wow.
all that data
How many
stored?
servers? Yeah, all
Yeah,
the
police
oh
services
and
got
my
to
stuff.
be
goodness,
downloaded too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Wow. Yeah.
That makes
Didn't
sense.
even think about that,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's a
Ooh.
lot.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Did
Hmm.
not think about that.
I
Yeah, you
had
need
to.
a whole team of technical people, just technical. You need like a whole technical setup to manage the equipment, the data, all that stuff. Like
Oh yeah.
it's like a new,
So that's
completely new
probably why
budget.
he said that. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
probably why he made sure we don't wear body camera. Like,
Hmm.
Mm,
because
Yeah.
Clay
mm,
County probably doesn't have the budget for
Doesn't
it.
have the.
Hmm.
interesting.
Ah.
The other thing I
Yeah.
can say that's interesting about what Omar is saying, um, I drive trucks. They were pushing very heavily about cameras in the truck for insurance purposes. And the issue is just like what Omar's saying, the ability to be able to store the information. So what will your service be at? Who will be looking over the data when an incident does occur, or if you come to a point where it's a evasive or an abruption stop, the camera will instantly kick in. But it will show, like you said, 2 minutes prior to the incident. But it will only record uh, up until it feels, which what I'm understanding, up until it feels that okay, the situation is no more like of a threat or there's nothing taking place for real. But that's actually somebody watching it at that point, like live, like somebody's watching it currently at that point, and they would just turn
Hmm.
it off. So
Gotcha.
it's
Mm.
yeah, it's deep.
Wow.
Mm.
Mm.
So I'm I don't know if anybody has the answer to this, but I'm just throwing this question out here. I mean, because I've been going back to federal, right? So I'm going to guess that these state police departments, they don't get any federal funds. Everything is like funded by the state or by the city, and they like police departments get paid by the amount of taxes that the denizens of those places receive. Correct?
I mean, I would say
Or you
primarily.
might not know.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Primarily, no. I can tell you that all pretty much almost all state in all jurisdiction get some form of federal funding in some way, shape, or
Yes.
form. Just some
Hmm.
places get a lot more. Like in DC, you know what I mean. Like her budget goes through Congress. Like they
Yeah.
approve her budget. Like the mayor can't really. That's why DC wants to be wants to, is fighting for statehood, so the mayor can
Mm,
basically run whatever she wants to run. Now everything she does has to go through Congress. So like DC, for instance,
Mm.
we have like we had Shot Spotter when we were one of the only departments that actually had shot spotter, and that's because it was, like money that was given to us federally to have the shot spotter technology in DC.
What is
Um,
what is that? Shot spider? Shot spotter? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. I'm just putting that out there, like you guys all know what it is. Shot spotter is a technology that uses sound recognition and GPS triangulation to be able to tell you exactly where a gunshot is being fired. So if
Whoa.
if I it's like it's very it's good for it's awesome for investigation. It's like it's par none for saving the lives of I won't say GSW people with gunshot wounds or gunshot victims, because prior to shot spotter in DC we would have to wait for residents to actually call in the sounds of gunshot, and they can never tell you exactly where it's coming from. They just can tell you it's close. With
Oh wow.
shot spotter
Oh,
would say shot spotter is picking up 5 sounds of gunshot coming from the right side of, you know, 1545 Minnesota Avenue Southeast, and we will go there and we'll find the shell casings right where it says it was, or
Oh
we would
wow.
find like a gunshot victim back there suffering from.
wow.
So we would get there, you know, once upon a time people would bleed out, like a guy gets shot 2 or 3 times, and by the time we find where he is, he's bled out and he's dead. We get there so quick with shot spotter that we catch him before he's bled out, and we can get the ambulance right where he's at. We can start administering, first aid to that individual to make sure. So it's very life saving more than anything else, but it's primarily an investigative tool.
Hmm.
Wow.
So that's, you guys took me down a different road than where we're going with the conversation, but
Sorry.
uh,
Yeah,
No,
that's something
that's
that's
that
what we
important
do.
though. Yeah, but
Yeah, that is
what you just
important.
said is important because
Yeah.
when we talk about with the topic being police brutality, that's a bit one sided. And the thing is that we have to also understand that policemen are people too. These are men who have families to go home to. These are men who actually have people that love them, and they too can be uh, brutalized by the public. And I've seen it as well. My queen actually is ex Baltimore police. She was actually a detective
Oh,
in
wow.
Baltimore, and right now I keep having to put duct tape on her to keep her knee together because of all the stuff that she did. She had fights and scuffles with people trying to clean up streets of Baltimore from
Wow.
from drug trafficking
that's a
and
rough
things like
town right
that.
there.
So that's
Yeah.
very rough.
There's certain
Yeah.
places that I take like, let me say that I'm not taking anything away from the county polices or the rural polices, but there are certain, like, city policing is a different beast. It's a different animal. And when you talk about like Baltimore, when you talk about like Long Beach, you talk about Chicago, DC. It's like it's
St.
a different
Louis.
animal. So like Baltimore is one of those places though that, you know what I mean. When I see a Baltimore cop, like I show respect. Like, you know what I mean. They have been through it. Like I know they've been through the
Mad
just
respect.
it's
Yes.
crazy. You
Yes.
wouldn't understand the level of stuff that like he's describing. But I'll let you continue.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, and I myself was not least, but I was first responder. I was paramedic and firefighter in Fifth Ward of Houston, and which is a very very
Oh,
active district as well. So many times we got calls, what Omar was just saying, to where people they would call us because somebody's bleeding out and we have to hurry up and get there, because the cops found them first. We would have to get there. So there's this side of policing that is actually very beneficial, and I say primarily beneficial to the public. And so for us to only point the finger at the bad times, we have to realize that those incidents compared to all the incidents that go on that involve police officers, that's like thinking about the number of flights that go out every single day, how many planes are flying and going on their routes every single day, but then all we focus on is the plane crashes. How rare are the plane crashes? But it seems like that reigns through our head. So when we talk about police actually doing somebody wrong, that's a very rare situation. It's really a rare situation when those things are off like that, because it's an incident out of thousands that are happening throughout the day. One incident. So it's a very small percentage. So, and like I say, I was never for defunding the police. I don't want to see society without police. My biggest concern is with public behavior more so than the
Mm,
behavior of police, because
mm.
our communities are being written and being terrorized by its own citizens, not the police. So how many of these
Woo.
incidents, so when we come to incidents such as what happened to Sister Terry here, but are these how much of these police are still responding from the previous incident? Because when we talk about like teenagers gathering and stuff like that, we've seen how they were gathered in front of stores and all of a sudden rushing mob and walk out the store with all the merchandise, and stuff like this, and they have to
Oh, flash
they have
flash mob, and they did that a lot in
flash
DC.
mobbing. Yeah, exactly. So it's just things like that. So we have to realize what we're dealing with is the fallout of these kind of things. Police responding to things like that, and then they might sometimes over respond, and then the public then is talking about, well, they're only going to focus on the overdoing. They're not going to try to understand that we understand why you responded like that because of what happened last time. This is
Yeah,
why
we
it's
talked
important that
about that
we
last week about police officers
okay
coming in too heavy with a situation. If they're
too
coming in at
heavy.
100, yeah, they're coming in at 100, for a situation that requires them to be at a 20. We definitely talked about that last week.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah,
he,
but
and it
what I'm
seemed like they
saying,
have a
but do
good
we talk
response to
about
that.
yeah, but we talk about the understanding of it. Are we having conversations, with
We
the people?
understand that they see things that us average people
Okay.
don't see. We discussed
Yes.
that last week. What we see on TV is what they see in real life. That's why
Mm-hmm.
we focus more in last week on the training. What type of training are they getting and their mental health? A lot of the police officers that are losing their certificates are losing their certificates to be police officers because of drug and alcohol. That is their coping mechanism because of what they're seeing,
Uh-huh.
because they're the mental health. And I talked to Officer Groves today. Thank you. He said the mental health and what we are doing is running rampant. And a lot of
Yes.
smaller police officers or smaller police stations in rural areas do not have mental health available, or their
That
insurance
part.
cannot cover it. But if you're in a big city with a big police department, you can go see them once a year, but it should be required that you should see them several times a year because of what they
Mm-hmm.
have to see and what they have to go through. And then we also talked about the type A, the power crazed people that are coming in and are
Yes.
ready. They're looking for it. They want it. They're,
Yes.
they're drawing the shit in. Excuse my language.
Yep.
They want that. They want all the smoke.
Yeah, and that's why I say those are the
Literally.
ones. There are some like that. Like I say, we
So
Yeah.
have people in the fire department that come in and they say, "Oh, I hope we get a big one today." Well, why would you wish that on somebody? Because if you get a big
Right.
fire, that means somebody's losing something. And
That
I'm
means
sure
Right.
somebody's gonna
we
lose their
have
life.
cops that come in and
Right.
say, I'm hoping to pull my weapon out today, use my weapon or what
Yeah.
have
They
you.
be
You
ready.
know. So
so
I'm
I've
sure,
never,
yeah.
yeah, I'm sure that that's a, like the action junkie type that's kind of looking for the adrenaline dump. But just to take it back to some of the stuff that Dr. Saba said, that I feel like, well, I said Dr. Saba, and I know Renee said she retracted that. I don't know why. Maybe
It's
it was an
okay.
inside.
Okay,
It's an
He said
inside
he
step
joke.
did.
sage.
It was an
Dr.
inside joke.
Saba.
But anyhow, some of the stuff that he talks about, I felt like needs to be touched on in our communities, because cops are becoming, and if that's the way you guys, the public want police officers to be, then I'm just gonna go ahead and say good luck, because cops have become timid. Nobody wants to.
Mm,
There is no more proactive policing. Like, all the proactive policing tools and stuff like that are being taken away. Cops are, losing their jobs, losing their freedoms. Like, why would you want to put on go to work, and then in the process of doing your job, you can make one simple mistake and you can wind up in jail for the rest of your life. Um, Put your family through that, and those are reasons why I kind of left the department. I had to have a hard conversation. My wife had that hard conversation with me, like, you know how do you know that one of these situations aren't going to happen? Just imagine, everything that we've worked hard for, open up to civil lawsuits, you losing your
Oh
freedom
wow.
and actually winding up in jail, all that kind of stuff. Like those are possibilities that were never really as forthright as they are right now. Like right now, those are very real possibilities for law enforcement, and it's becoming more and more that way. Like everybody, with the body worn cameras and with the cell phones and stuff like that are just going after. It's like hunting season. Um,
Mm.
so it's not really sexy right now to be law enforcement, and it's because of you know
Mm-hmm.
a lot of what we see going on. Like there is no accountability anymore for people that are actually committing crimes. It's like the camera and the lens is turned in law enforcement, and that's the only thing people seem to look at these days. But they forgot that the people that are at the other end of what law enforcement are doing actually deserve to be where they are. Not like for, let's just say, George Floyd. I'm not talking about it from that perspective, like he needed to be, but I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like if we're using
Right.
force in someone to try to, and it's not because they were just walking down the street and you just jump out in them and just, you know what I mean? It's because they did something for you to be there, or you got a complaint for you to be there. And there's a lot of law enforcement misconduct, but most times it's, we're there legally present, like we got called and have a reason to be there. So there needs to be some light shed in our communities about accountability and in our community as
Mm.
well.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, I know, and the thing, these reports, every time something goes national, hit mainstream news about police brutality, police across the nation suffer. Because even when, I can't remember what incident it was, but it was something that happened where and it might have been the Aubrey, no, it wasn't Aubrey, who was it? Anyway, it was something that happened just a couple of years ago in Los Angeles, at the train station, the Rosa Parks or Willowbrook train station, which where the blue line and the green line meet. They know that that's a hot spot for people because you got people coming from Watts and people coming from South Central and so forth, and even Compton down at that station. And so and they congregate, but not just that, but it ends up being kind of unsafe because people get really ruly at that station. So the Los Angeles sheriff normally not just patrol, but they park at that station, and I mean they have their SUVs backed up underneath the bridge and things like that. Well, these what they got ambushed and to where somebody came up and shot both cops in the head, killed them right there at that station. And now the cops are not there. But since those cops have gone, stabbings have gone up on that particular train. I don't know what percentage, but it has increased. Stabbings have increased. So you see what I'm saying? So the balance is upset. So and so anytime I'm speaking, I'm talking about balance. So we got to start talking about balance. It's the mindset that's our enemy. It's the mind, and that's whether the mindset's coming from the people in the community or the cops. That mindset is what has to go. We've got to eradicate the mindset so that way everybody can be what they need to be. Because we need somebody around policing. Because people can get very out of hand, but we don't need the professionals, the cops getting out of hand. They need to stay they need to stay poised, and so we can depend on them to be good. So anyway, just wanted to say that.
Renee had something to say. I saw her. She had her finger up for a second.
God level.
Because I'm sitting
Yes.
up here and I'm listening to this,
Yes.
may I please remind you that the title of this show is called Police Brutality.
Sure.
Mhm.
And when you mentioned LA, I was looking for a video where I found it was a young reporter who had been investigating the LA police departments and found that it was several gangs inside the police department of where they have been actually calling themselves, and to be initiated into this gang inside the police department, they have to go out and kill someone. And these are our police.
Because
Oh, really?
police are
Can you share a link to that?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm looking
let's
for it now.
Yeah, let's wait till you have facts to back up.
Oh
But
no, that is a
Listen,
fact.
yeah.
that
I'm
is
not,
No,
I'm
a
not,
but
I'm
I'm
not
just telling
knocking
you,
that.
no, I
I'm just
get
saying we
that.
live right
No,
now, and I
I
care
get
about your
that. I
license.
get that.
I'm
I
not the
get that.
enemy. I'm not the
No,
enemy.
no, you're not the enemy.
there was
I
a good
know
Yeah.
you're
article
not the
actually
enemy.
that was in the LA Times about the same thing that she's speaking about, and I didn't
Thank
believe it
you.
myself until I actually read it.
Yeah.
And y'all know
Thank
me, I
you.
used to
It's
be a
in the LA
journalist, so
Times. There you
I
go.
checked my sources, and I snopes that thing. I went to like
Yeah.
there. It was interesting that somebody wrote about it, but the thing is
Snopes.
that of course there's I
Hmm.
snopes.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Oh my
snopes.
goodness.
I look for national sources also. I'm just saying
Okay.
that was like a part of it. But it's and I think that a lot of people didn't run that because of the fact that it wasn't necessarily something that was national. It was something that was exclusive to the LA Police Department.
Hmm.
But I mean, and it was just like we had Omar last week when we spoke about the culture of policing
Coach.
in different
Mm-hmm.
places, and we talked about like what was the culture of DC, and he spoke to what about the culture of DC, and DC, of course, being the nation's capital, they have to do things above board because of the fact that they are the nation's capital, right? And I would think that that's the reason why the policies and the things the standard operating procedures that you spoke about, Omar, that's the reason why they're really interesting, because it seems like things are above board from my point of view. However, we go out to these cities that are smaller, that don't have the budget, that are only getting a couple of dollars per year, that they really don't have a lot of denizens to pay taxes to give to the police departments, and the cultures there are a lot different. You know, I mean, so I was like, when we're looking at police brutality, for me, I'm looking at it from a national level, like from the federal level. That's the reason why sometimes, Omar, I ask you things about the federal level of policing. Then we got to
Yeah.
look at it from the state level, and then we got to look at it from the city, because those rural cities, I
Yeah.
honestly, in my own opinion, believe that those are the ones that are capable of like really being brutal, of the ones who
Rankin,
don't
Yeah.
have
Mississippi.
they have those different
Rankin.
cultures. They don't have those cultures that are telling you to be that you've got to be above board. You've got to do more. Or like their culture it's not the culture is
It's
different.
kind of
It's
like
just
the
different.
culture
Right.
based off
Yeah.
the
Right.
foundation of policing
Omar
anyway.
hit on this last week, and I'm glad he said it and not me. But it was about the in Rankin, Mississippi, what, less than 200,000 people down there, and right now the police department is being sued for $400 million for going into a man's house and torturing him and his friend.
Yeah. I heard
Yeah,
about that. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Did
Yep.
you also
And
Like
hear
I
about
say.
the young
You
guy
said
that
I
was
touched on that.
yeah,
I'm not
excuse me.
aware of that one. No, I touched on the one where they were beating the guy that was calling for his mom. Um,
That's the
that
same.
it's
they
the
went.
same state.
It was
Did
the
they go
same
into his
state,
house? I don't
Rankin,
think they went into his
Mississippi.
house for him. No, that's a.
No, this was inside the
Oh, you
house.
mean it's the same police department that
No,
did
no, no,
what you're
no. I
talking
thought
about?
this was the same story because when you mentioned it, and I was like, okay, well, he's aware of this particular story that's making major like news right now. They're being sued for $400 million. They end up shooting him in the mouth. They were taking turns with their taser on him to see which one was the strongest. They literally tortured these men for 90 minutes.
That's just sociopathic. I mean, I
But
think that
Yeah.
so
that has to do with the
This was in Rankin,
it's
individual.
the
Mississippi.
it's the
That's
mindset.
the
This is what I'm talking about ultimately. It's the mindset that we have to learn how to deal with, because that mindset it's on both sides. Both sides.
It is.
It's in the communities, and it's in
definitely,
the yeah.
definitely, uh, definitely.
Police
So,
police are, like I was saying earlier, police are the citizens with a job. They
uh,
come from different
Basically.
backgrounds, different traumas, different situations. And out here we're down in South Georgia, the dirty. I've seen some interesting scenarios, and the police turnover is, I mean, they're constantly recruiting for officers. Not a lot of training involved. They don't have to go through much mental health, evaluations from what I'm
And they
understanding. I
need
just
that.
talked to a young lady that just got on the force, and the culture, what was the foundation of policing in the first place? Where did
that's
that start? And the New England.
Yes. Well, we know what that
Do
is.
you do
So,
we really want to go
so
there?
no, so I'm saying, so that's still perpetuated, in
Ooh.
in
You're
forces,
deep on us.
I mean, even with taking that route to even dig in that hole or reopen the wound. First and foremost, Omar, I appreciate you for being on here.
Thank
Secondly,
you.
as a community, have to understand we're missing the masculine principle in the home front. Some of these situations can be deviated or stopped before they leave outside their front door. But some of these crimes that happen are because due to the lack of, I want to say, nourishment from the fathers, for men being in the house. Period. You know,
Yeah.
Oh man.
this is very, very, very important. I don't want to keep pressing that it's the police fault for certain things that happen. If you were to go down the scale of things and you get to the root of the things, it still come back to the fact that the lack of male presence in our community. Period. So,
Yeah.
That's
like
what.
Creation Divine spoke out. These are civilians or citizens first and foremost, becoming officers, men and women. But our communities, we have lost a lot of men presence. Period. So there's really no culture actually being passed down. Just unstable people with emotions and traumas
Mm-hmm.
due to the lack of. So I don't want to keep pointing at the police because my incident with the police, I was actually saved. I got shot. My car got hit 9 times with a 45. I got hit
Whoa.
twice, and because of the due diligence of the police, they pinpoint where I was at because I wasn't going to stop. I was trying to evade the scene. First time ever in a situation where gunfire was there. I didn't have my firearm. So I was trying to get to a safe area so I could assess what was going on. Luckily, I got on the phone and actually talked to the police, and the police pulled up like within, when I say seconds, I mean seconds. And this happened in St. Louis. But I'm still stating we have a lot of misguided teens, I heard, because we have no male presence in the community or in home fronts. I just want to say that part. And again, thank you, Omar, for coming back again. We do appreciate your insight.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. And I just want me throw this out there before we close this out that yes, this is about police brutality. Police brutality is an effect. So if we're going to get to a resolution to solve the problem, we got to get to the point of causation, not the effect. So when we talk about this thing is just like the second law of thermodynamics. It's called entropy. These things come together. Eventually it builds up these other products that ends up impeding the process. So police respond to crime keeps happening. Police become victims of those particular crimes. When they do that, then police overreact, and then it spills into innocent people being victimized by the overreaction of cops, and then the community goes back on the cops. So you see what's happening is nobody's stopping to say,
when
okay, stop.
police do crime,
Yeah, and they do. That's what I'm saying. So it's a lot of that. So it's being infiltrated. The police departments are being infiltrated by criminals, by some criminals. And then just like, and so we got a lot of this stuff that's happening. So it's the mindset. This is what I'm talking about. So we got to stop. If we don't stop pointing fingers at one another and start dealing with the mindset, it's that mindset that is infiltrating both sides. We got people in our community that I want to see them gone before I see a cop going, because they're the ones breaking into our houses, raping our women, beating our children, and murdering our brothers. You see, it's not the cops, it's the people in our community. So this
I'm
is what
just
I'm saying. I'd rather see them going before I see a cop going. So I'm just saying we got to see it. We got to talk about this thing. If we're going to talk about it, let's come to a way that where we can come up with solutions. And we can't come up with solutions if we're only going to address the effect. The effect is not where it's happening. It's on a level of causation. What's causing this? What's really going on? And it's the mindset. So I just want to put that out there.
You
some
sound
Well,
a little bit misinformed. But
no, I
we'll,
don't. I mean,
Not at all.
we'll
I,
talk about this
Not
later.
at all.
Because when to say that, hold on, and I'm not just putting Omar out there. Please excuse me, Omar.
mm-mm.
You
Now
know,
I'm listening. I'm
police,
listening to what you're saying, and I
police
get where you're gonna go with this.
brutality,
Renee, but I get where
anything
he's
before
coming
but
from.
is a lie.
It's a lie.
Anything before but is a lie. Da 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 da. But go ahead and finish your sentence.
That's not true either. But okay.
You know, just
That's not
No,
true. You
no. I think what
okay.
I'm pretty sure what Saba is saying is that we're not like us as we have to come to the agreement that in our black community we sensationalize like crime and stuff like that. Like it's in the music, it's in the culture. It's like, if someone down the road is a doctor, and you know what I mean, and someone down the road is, let's just say, a drug boy. It's like a drug boy have more street rep than the doctor actually have. And what he's trying to say is that in our communities we have to start addressing those kind of concepts where we actually look at it from the perspective of, you know what I mean? Like, who are the bad actors in our in the communities, in our black communities? Like, who are the bad actors in our black communities? And like I said last week as well, I said something that I don't think you guys picked up on. The reason why law enforcement kind of stereotype young black males is because young black males are the ones that are committing the crimes.
Right. That's
And
what I'm
that's why
talking about.
when if a lookout comes out, if I'm a cop and I'm on my beat, and a lookout comes out for, a young black male. I said this last week. He comes out for a young black male,
yeah,
wearing
I
dark
remember when you said
clothing,
that.
20 to between 20 to 35 years old, or whatever the lookout is, and I'm going down the street and I'm doing a canvas. Every black male that I see that fits that description, I'm gonna stop him. If I see a white male that fits that description, I'm not gonna stop that white person because the lookout was not for a white person. If it's the opposite, if the shoe's on the opposite foot, and the crime that was committed was for a white male between the age of 20 and 35, every white male that I see that fits that description, I'm gonna stop him. So if the lookout that's keep coming out over the radio is for young black males doing this, then they're going to have more interaction with police. So until they change the sensationalization of crime within the rap music and all that stuff, and within the communities where like the stick up boys and the drug boys are the boys that are getting all the play and getting all the
Right.
fame and all that stuff,
No,
it's just
Hmm.
going to keep it's just going to keep going on.
no,
let's
that's not the
know.
start of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
Okay,
not.
okay, wait,
You're
wait, wait.
going back to
Thank
you're
you.
going back to
Before
You know
slavery.
what? We're
before
hold on, because we're at our limit. We're
I
at
was getting ready to say, I was like,
an
before we go
hour
down
and
that rabbit
33
hole,
minutes.
that part,
Yeah,
that
because
part. Yes, because listen, okay, so we could go into the cultural ramifications of how we got here, what happened for us to get here, the trauma that had us to
we
get
can
here
do
to where young kids
And what's
feel
still
that they have
going
to
on
get,
to
but
keep
we
us
can do
here?
crime in
and
the
see
black
what's going
community.
on.
And
But the
what's
thing
still
is that
going on?
We can
that
do
is
crime in the
facts.
black community
If
for the
we are
next
going to,
episode.
yes, because if we're
Do
going to
crime
talk
in the
about
black
the
community.
cultural ramifications, that means that we're going to have to add on another hour. But if we're going to put everything in the scope of police brutality, he is telling you from a police, and I see exactly what he's saying. He's saying
Hmm.
if I'm going out there and I've got to pick up a black male who just stole a pair of tennis shoes, who's 21, 22, I'm going to look for a black male. The same way that I had told you guys like earlier on, right? When I was like, when people put my kid on his knees in Harnett County in when that high school, they were looking for a large black male, a large black kid, 15 to
Okay.
16. It wasn't mine, but because of the fact that they were looking for that large black kid, right?
Okay.
And come to find out there wasn't necessarily that. But in speaking of the terms of police brutality,
Hmm.
I see what he is saying. I see that he's saying that if black men weren't picking, if black people weren't committing any crimes, then we wouldn't be looking for black people committing any crimes. We can go back to the social part of it, but that's not what this is for. And I think that you
Hmm.
said next week, God level, that you wanted to talk about black on black crime. This is a
Yes, I do.
perfect segue if
This
that's
really
exactly
is.
what's going to be discussed.
Thank you, because I felt her
I
rolling.
got you, boo. I got you,
Oh,
boo.
I
I
felt
got both
her
of my
rolling
queens.
like,
Okay. I
Mhm.
got both
Yeah,
my
God
queens.
level.
I got you. I got you, boo.
Main professional, God level.
I got you,
Yeah,
boo.
you gotta
I got
separate.
you.
Stay in character, God level. Yeah, God level.
I got
Yeah,
you. I
And I got
got you.
real nails.
yeah, God level. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, God level.
Before
Things
we get
that
out of
people
here,
don't
can I
want
just
to
ask
talk
a
to.
question? Can I ask a question, because I know we had time, and I just want to ask this, because Omar, the one thing that
What
we
is
didn't
it?
talk about is we didn't talk about solutions. Last week we
Mm,
talked about like lethal versus non-lethal
yeah.
weapons, and like how you took, like, I don't know if it was jujitsu or you took mixed martial arts in order to enhance what you learned on the police force. So that was for policing. So my question is that if you get our young people, I think that all of us here are parents, except, I'm sorry, with the exception of King Newborn. Am I correct, or do you have? I don't know if you have kids or not, but I'm sorry, that's neither here nor there. But I think we all want to know, like, if we have, like, what are the rights that our kids need to know if they get put in a situation
Mm.
um where they feel that there could be excessive force used against them, or even adults, what are the things that we should be able to do in order to protect ourselves, if we
That's
are
an
if we
easy
are
answer.
alone, or if we are by
That's
ourselves.
easy.
That's an easy answer.
Just
That's
Yeah.
like
super
I
Comply.
think
easy.
Renee said it earlier. She said just comply and videotape if you feel like
Comply.
you need a videotape.
Period.
Yeah, comply,
You
record,
you
fight it
never
in court.
see you never see any of those situations. One thing that's common in all the situation that you see with police brutality, or I'm just gonna say police brutality because it's always until it's proven guilty,
Right.
innocent, or it's people that doesn't comply.
Hmm.
That's the common
Mm.
part of it. If you will never see somebody complying, I kind of did see that one time. A guy was complying at a gas station.
I was going to say, I was
Yeah.
like,
I've seen it a
I was
couple
going
of
to say, who
times. Like I
Oh,
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
there's rare
I would say,
occasions.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just say rare occasions. It's very rare that you see, someone just complying with officers and wind up just getting beat down or shot or whatever it is, or tased. It's just usually not complying. Comply, and then if something was done wrong, file a complaint afterwards, and then you can take your course of action after that. But comply first.
okay,
Mm-hmm. That's right.
comply
Remain
first.
blameless.
All right,
And it
all
don't
right.
ma- and it don't matter.
Well, it does sometimes.
But
It
we
does
see, I
sometimes.
mean, well, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, we've
Mhm.
seen a lot of situations where
I understand, but that's what I'm saying. Those situations and those incidents, believe it or not, they are rare. They
Mm-mm.
are rare
They're
incidents.
not
Can
rare.
I just
I
say
don't
I'm just
think
this?
I
saying
don't think
Can
they're
I?
rare.
They're not rare. His name is
they
Can
Zach
I?
well,
Wester. Zach Wester was a police officer who planted drugs on 33 people.
sure. One police officer.
One police officer upsetted 33 people's lives, their family, all of that, jobs.
One police officer.
One police
Mm-hmm.
officer. That's just one.
That's just
What about the
one.
ones that has not been caught?
So I have a
Well,
Well,
And the
we're
I
going
stories
to
that
feel
stop it right
go
there
online.
because we're going to stop it right there. We're going to stop it
okay.
right there. I want to thank everyone for coming in on tonight's live. This was Police Brutality Part 2. We may have to revisit this before the end of the year. As a matter of fact, I think we are going to revisit this before the end of the year. I want to thank our guest, Omar. He is a retired Washington, D.C. police officer. Thank you for coming in. I hope that we wasn't very aggressive this
Mm-mm.
time around.
Not at
It-
all. I mean, like I said,
you
I'm here for it. I'm
you
an
you
open
you
book.
handled yourself pretty well. We even got a
Man,
little
cooler than a
chuckle during
fan.
the middle of the podcast. You in these shirts that you look like one of my regular brothers with your little arms cut. I was like, oh, look at him
Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
Keep it
blending in,
moving. Yeah, keep it moving. Let's keep it moving.
blending in. But
We can't
anyway,
end it unless it has some chucklery. We cannot end it unless there's some
we
chucklery
could
in
not.
there
You
going on.
know,
Right. But we can also go backstage though.
but not
yes.
before John give us what he got this evening. John,
Yes,
what you got
sir.
for us?
Uh, I'm just gonna do a segue piece. This is an oldie. To me, it's kind of a goodie. Um,
All
I'm
of it
choosing
is
this piece
wisdom.
because, we didn't, well, we couldn't, but poverty. And I'm just going,
Mm.
again, for causes and all that. Poverty causes a lot of
Yes,
problems.
ma'am. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
it
Yes, sir.
does.
So,
Yes, it does.
Absolutely.
with that being said, the American dream said my freedom is for sale. War is a business, and I knew it very well. See, back in my younger days, I was trying to get paid, was trapped inside a ghetto, seeking escape, wanted to bulldoze, wanted to make a way. Could have went to college if I only took the scholarship, but I followed my father's steps and signed my life away, just like these rappers and these basketball players looking for a quick meal. See, it's the microwave age. And you know what they say about this young generation. We say they lack patience. The black youth got loot, but they are not gracious. They started with the dollar and a dream. Started at the bottom of the pyramid scheme, believing the system is designed synonymous to a few trees, how it's not for us. And the cycle repeats just like a chorus for the poorest. And I don't mean holy. My culture told me if money talks, I better listen. And if it don't make sense, then it's not wisdom. So my cash flows like a runny nose, even though I'm sniffing. I won't lie, I'm a little sickened by these rich devils that boast loudly, ungodly. See, I live peaceful, love sweetly, speak softly, the language of a dream into existence. Helicopter poems, so uplifting as I bench press my self esteem, push myself even with weak faith. But this is just a brief case. I will not get carried away. Instead, I pray for these better days filled with brighter glows for our tired souls as we try to roll on a higher road to riches. They say it's lonely at the top and the heart gets kind of cold and it's hard to keep it warm like styrofoam. But this is not my way, hombre. I say it's like the God of Israel. It's Yahweh. On this main course, I stay food for thought. This is just an entree. My ego is on the menu. Sometimes you got to serve yourself like a buffet, but it's dangerous because being born with a stomach full of debt makes a glutton for success. Yes, and I ain't got to stress it. Your pocket's getting fat, but your trust is anorexic. Starving for loyalty, claiming to be kings and queens, but royalties don't make you royalty. Respect life, then respect the hustle. See, your money long, but your life short. Stay humble. Because staying true to the paper chase deludes you to think dead presidents can emancipate you. Ooh. It's kind of ill, though, for real, though. To be born free means being Jaden and Willow. That's how I feel. But then I heard money over bitches, and it was money over everything. Then it was culture over everything, a nation under God over everything. See, we argue over everything because the world is quite mad. Just like, damn, it's always something over something like division. Do the math. Small talk about unity from a big mouth spitting currency fluently. So way up your soul, bless you. Forget about the hood where the post-traumatic stress lives. Poverty is a cannibal and it's eating people alive. Too much love for the moolah will make you do anything to survive. Sometimes it bothers me that I became U.S. property to help get my family out of poverty. Reflecting on when the middle passage begun, what do I pass to my son, the American dream or the African one? I help him stay woke in the scheme of things as we still try to buy our freedom in 2023. Help your kids stay woke in the scheme of things as we still try to buy our freedom in 2023. Salute.
Salute.
And I
Amen.
want to share one more thing.
Donate to Israel McGee Cash App.
Yeah,
Yes. He's in the
Ashe.
hospital right
absolutely.
It's a
now.
good
Yeah.
brother right here, man.
That's a
He's
good brother.
homeless.
Y'all hook my boy up. Please get those cash out. Give him some support and help.
Give him some love,
He's a
man.
good brother on a hard time right now.
And so
Yes.
if you're
Absolutely.
looking for that opportunity to do a good deed, hey man, $5, $10, you just, oh yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna throw this on something I ain't really need anyway. Boom. Blessings.
That part.
Blessings on the
That
way.
part.
Yes.
Feels good.
Okay.
Community helping the community.
Who's got the tap
That
shoes, by the
part.
way?
My brother.
It's not tap shoes. It's anyway.
My
It's not
brother.
the tap shoes.
Kingsley Warren.
Whatever. Whatever.
Look like, what is he doing?
Oh my God.
Right.
All right, God, level. That's enough. Let's
All
keep
right.
it wrong.
Take us out
Keep
with
it
Master.
wrong.
I like Master. You can call me Master. Let that play. You got that? You got that?
Take us out. Take us
Come on,
out,
we gonna
boss. Take us out.
we coming in with your music. We leaving out with your music. I mean, what? Hey, man, that last album was dope. Oh my
Thanks.
God.
Things that people don't want to talk about.
That's right. Go support my brother John Skywalker as well. Buy his album.
Absolutely.
It's good. It's worth it. I got it too.
Really.
And see y'all next week.
Later, y'all.
Thank
Have a good
you.
one,
Peace,
guys.
peace, peace.
Bye.
Aha too, everyone.